Hello and welcome to the Hindus channel. I'm Narayan Lakshman, Senior Associate Editor and Opinion Editor, and I'm here today to discuss a shock event in the media that occurred last week. Mass layoffs at the venerable Washington Post newspaper in the US, an event that raised serious questions for the future of media and how it might need to adapt to survive in this complex world that we live in today. What we saw recently at the Washington Post and wrote about in the Hindu as well was not just another round of layoffs. It was the culmination of a long build-up of frustration on two sides of the equation within the newsroom. From the management's perspective, readership had been falling, revenues were under pressure, and traditional model was clearly under strain. Journalists' perspective was, of course, the flip side of the coin, which was that there was a distinct and palpable absence of a strategy that they could tap into, which would help them adapt and succeed in a world of new reader habits, new technology platforms, and new ways of delivering news. Combined with this, the growing political threats to the media itself were happening across the world, including in India, and that points to a deeper failure of leadership. So one cannot ask journalists to do more with less without articulating a renewed mission, a sharp editorial identity, and a credible strategy for relevance in the digital age. So what should such a strategy actually look like? Firstly, it's important that there's clarity over what a publication offers: original reporting, serious analysis, and trust built over time, as indeed the Hindu does, rather than traffic chasing and journalism that has to be sought out not for the explanation that it provides of this complex world we live in, but for the news bait and the clickbait that you see all over the place. Combined with this possibility of providing complex graphics, interactive possibilities with readers, and you really have a formula that can work in the world of news today. And finally, there is a real danger that we should not ignore in terms of the nexus between media owners and political leaders across the world, including in vibrant democracies, where there is always a pressure for said owners to not oppose the government in a greater degree than the entire media ecosystem would be comfortable with. And that leads to some of these media owners attempting to convert media houses from vibrant centers of discussion and engagement with readers to something that is far more prosaic and pliant and reflects the values of the mainstream much more than it needs to. So to this extent, we can also learn important lessons at the Hindu and indeed across other Indian media, and that is that no matter what the pressures, external and internal, it is vital to keep having a conversation within the news organization. And that conversation has to be about tapping into the latest technology offerings, tapping into what the core editorial values of that media house are, and bringing them together to keep readers engaged and not make assumptions about readers wanting dumbed-down news, because truly they don't. We actually and ironically live in a world where news consumption is greater than ever. It's just that the formats in which the readers and viewers wish to consume news are entirely different to what they were, say, 20 years ago. So there is hope, and there are prospects for news and news organizations to survive these dramatic changes. But the case of the Washington Post illustrates that without such dynamism and without an ongoing conversation within news organizations, there are bound to be changes that push in the opposite direction. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope that you will follow, subscribe, and share, and come back to us for even more analysis of this kind, which goes beyond the headlines to explain the bigger picture.